Well, hello, dear. I haven't seen you since we woke up this morning.
Since Luke's 50th birthday at the Baked Potato, which, by the way, you kicked ass.
That was really fun.
Yeah, it was.
Luke's unbelievable.
He got too hammered.
Well, he got too Luke.
He got too Luke.
I think he was shocked. I don't think he expected
was
that to
shocked
happen
to
at all. And what a freak.
General question, your personal, professional, and inspirational connection to the Wrecking Crew.
Oh my God, you know, I was in a band called Group Therapy in 1966, and we were produced by Mike Post. And when we went in to we did 4 sides, I think, and we were pretty green at that point. None of us had ever recorded before, so we weren't allowed to play on our record, and we did it over at old United Studios. And I walked in the room, and I look out there, and there was Mike Rubini, Larry Knechtel, Mike Melvoin playing keyboards, Earl Palmer, Hal Blaine, Jim Gordon, mixing up the percussion section, Carol Kay, Bobby West playing Budimir, Mike Dacey, and I think Al Casey playing guitar. I looked in this room, I went, holy shit, this is unbelievable. These guys have basically, I molded my life around these guys as a profession. They were really the pinnacle of this business to me, and I'm so proud that this movie's been made. I went to the Union the other night and saw the movie, The Wrecking Crew, and it's just like you sit there and you just sort of go, this is fantastic. And I love them. These guys are really what we all aspire to be.
I think maybe now we're starting to appreciate the work of the session player in this day and age.
I think some of that really came about with the Funk Brothers documentary. Really,
I brought Paul Justman to
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic. To me, that was really a really critical moment right there, because it's really a shame when you look back at all those records that there were no credits given on them. There was plenty of space taken up with liner notes, but not the credit to the musicians. I think it would have been shocking to most people that they could have looked through all their records and seen the exact same bunch of guys on every record they had. They were a monumental group of musicians, and it was kind of like the crest of the wave for this business, as far as I'm concerned, through that 60s period where it was a ferocious energy going on in this town, and nobody had written the book yet. It was all kind of free form. Whereas years have gone on, there's certain formulas have evolved and the business has changed. I felt very blessed to have started in the kind of late 60s and then really, well, I've been working ever since, but I mean really through the 70s. It still had that same kind of energy with the artists that were getting signed. So they're magic to me.
Have you, over the last decades, ever had personal encounters with any of these?
Oh, I know so many of them. I mean, I've done tons of records with Hal. I used to do a lot of stuff with Melvoin.
Give me
Jim.
a couple examples.
Oh, I can't remember any of the time. I mean, I've worked on like over 2,000 records. I don't remember squat. But I used to, Gary Coleman, we used to do all of the Mike Post TV shows together. Melvoin did a lot of those. And there were other guys that were not necessarily listed in the Vince DeRosas and guys like that in town that didn't get the accolades from that period. But I used to do a lot of stuff with Knechtel. Jim Gordon and I used to work together all the time back in the 70s. So it was really kind of interesting to, on the one hand, at one kind of capsule in my life, to be sitting on one side of a window looking into the room at these guys, and then a couple of years later being in the room with the guys. And I really kind of, Tommy Tedesco gave me the greatest lesson I ever learned in the whole music business, where we were doing a TV show, it might have been Knight Rider or something like that, over at Universal, and we were sitting behind a baffle, so all you could really see is this. And the conductor was out there, and he goes, Tommy, could you play a mandolin for me? And so Tommy goes, sure. Bends over, gets up and plays, and the guy goes, no, I don't think so. Maybe, could you try acoustic guitar? Okay. So he keeps yelling instruments out, and Tommy keeps bending over, and I'm sitting right here crying, because all Tommy had was his guitar with him, and he just kept bending over and sitting up again and playing in different positions. But he was gifted enough to make it sound different every time he sat up, until the guy finally heard what he wanted. And I sat there and I looked at him crying, and I said, all my experience in junior high, high school, college, studying music, I said, I just learned more in 5 minutes about this business than I learned through that whole period. He was fantastic. So, you know, to have come full circle and gotten to know so many of these gentlemen. We've got Glen Campbell standing right back here, and Glen I've had the great fortune of working on some records with, and to see him back, especially in the Wrecking Crew movie, to see him as one of the young cats in town it was really fantastic. I mean, I knew he was part of it, but when you see it in the movie, it's really something.
That's awesome. Great.
May I ask you about?
Yeah.
Oh, my question would be, at what point in your musical education as a young man did you recognize that the songs you're hearing on the radio consisted of more than just a vocalist and a tune or a beat or a melody that you liked, that there was an actual musical personality, and it connected to you in a way that you wanted to know, well, who's playing bass or who's playing drums, that led you to realize that there was this school of musical talent? Where does that come in?
I think for me, the most pivotal group like that was the Righteous Brothers. I absolutely adored the Righteous Brothers, and Bill Medley's a really good friend of mine. And when I was listening to those records, especially the first one with Coco Joe and all that on it, I went, who are these cats playing on this? I mean, this stuff is so good. And then I would start looking through, because I was a huge Motown fan. I had a friend in high school who turned me on to everybody from Joe Tex to James Brown to Sam Cooke. And you listen to all these records and you just go, who are these guys that are playing all this stuff? And these players were real chameleons. And I found myself having to take on that same guise where I would be in the studio. One day I would be doing Alice Cooper, and the next day we would be doing Sammy Davis Jr. and Wayne Newton or Anthony Newley, and then next thing I'm sitting with James Taylor or Jackson Brown. So these guys had the abilities as musicians to kind of take on the color and texture of whatever room they walked into that day. And the magic of this business to me always was, I'd go to work and I never know what I'm getting called for. So, you know, you walk in and you have to suddenly whip it out.
Life of an artist.
Yeah.
Glen Campbell, please come in and sit down. That's great.